Hello everyone. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm your host, Katie Duggan, and I work with the absolute best team in Austin, Texas in real estate.
I'm also a native Austinite and a third-generation realtor, seeking to continue the family legacy of excellence and commitment to customer satisfaction. With me are panelists Laura Duggan, the broker and owner of West Austin Properties, a second-generation family-owned real estate firm located right here in Austin, Texas, and she is a third-generation native with over 31 years experience. She sold real estate in 5 decades. Also, our real estate partner and business associate, Patrick Birdsong. He began working in the real estate business at a very early age, learning the business from the inside out. He's now a listing and marketing partner in the company with 8 years of sales experience. So tonight our goal is to give you lots of great information for buying a home in Austin. We're going to cover the current state of our market, review the statistics. We want to talk to you about short sales and foreclosures and how they impact our market, as well as give you an update on lenders and financing. And then we're going to finish with the 5 things you absolutely must know before buying a home. So here's how it's going to work. We're going to cover these topics in the next 45 minutes and then leave the last 15 minutes for questions. So, as you're listening to the webinar, feel free to go ahead and type in your questions and we'll gather them and answer them at the end. And before we get started, we want to let you know that all the data we're presenting has been taken from the Austin Board of Realtors Multiple Listing Service. And all of our information and content is not meant to be legal or financial advice. So please go ahead and consult your CPA or attorney for your own personal situations. So let's get started. We all know that the real estate market has had such bad press nationally. So what about the Austin market? Laura, would you like to get us started?
Absolutely. Well, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're all here, and I think we're going to learn a lot tonight, and it should be a lot of fun. I wanted to get started by just talking about the Austin market in relationship to the national market. The national market has been pretty awful, actually, in a lot of locations, and that's spilled over in the press to just about everywhere. I mean, the market in California, Nevada, Florida, Arizona have all reflected in the national news. But Austin has been a little bit different situation. In Austin, we've had a pretty balanced market. We've had some softening of prices. We've got an increase in inventory, but we also have not had the huge spikes up in price values like we had in the past in other markets, so we never came crashing down like some of the others. We've always had real slow, steady appreciation, and there are a lot of reasons for that. We have had a very diverse economy. Our economy has been made up of state and federal government, high tech, music and film. We have the University of Texas, which is a major employer, biomed, and oil and gas. There's still a lot of venture capital here. We've got a lot of educational opportunities, entrepreneurship, still have good migration into the state and into Austin. The quality of life here, it's a cool place to live. A lot of people move here for that reason. It was also just named one of Forbes' top 10 affordable cities, and Kiplinger named it #1 for the decade for spending the next 10 years. They said Austin was the place to be, and I have to concur. It's a pretty cool place. Even though we have prices that have softened in some areas and dropped significantly in others, and our inventory is up slightly, but not as high as it was in August. We have fewer buyers in the market, but there's still people wanting to buy in a lot of different price ranges. So let's look at how Austin compares to some other major metropolitan cities. Austin compared with Seattle, Atlanta, San Diego, Phoenix, Denver, and Raleigh. Our population right now is about 1.6 million, and it's growing. We've never had negative growth in Austin. Our cost of living index is 94, which is significantly less than the others. And our unemployment rate is less. We still have good job growth, which is a big factor. Our foreclosure rates aren't nearly like they are in other places, and our median home price, it's still a very affordable place to live. So the question is, do we have a buyer's market? Well, let's define what a buyer's market is first. A buyer's market is when you have a supply of homes that dramatically exceeds the demand for homes. In other words, there are many more buyers in the marketplace than there are many more homes for sale in the marketplace than there are buyers to buy them. And we're going to show you some specifics here in just a minute. Because in some areas, yes, it is a buyer's market. In other areas, it's an extreme buyer's market. And in some areas, we still have a normal market. And that also relates to the different price bands. A price band being 100 to 200,000, 200 to 300,000, 3 to 4, etc. So some price bands are more active than others, and we're going to go through that with you here right now.
Perfect. So Patrick, go ahead and show us the 5-year trend for the number of homes for sale in Austin, so we can kind of get a better feel for this inventory now as it compares in the last 4 years.
Thanks, Katie. What you're looking at right now is the number of homes for sale in Austin, and it's the chart of the last 5 years, January through December. If you look at the chart, you'll see that at the beginning of the year, it's a little bit seasonal. There's some seasonality to it. There's lower numbers at the beginning of the year, spikes up in the summer, and calms back down going into the holiday season. The important thing I want you to see here, though, is that that gray line, 2010, is way above everything else in the market. You can see it's kind of gotten a little bit closer to about 2008, but for the most part, homes for sale, our inventory level has stayed way up. Next one is how many homes have sold in the market. Last month we had 1,100 homes sell. Again, that gray line, 2010, just the opposite of the homes for sale line. It's way below the rest of the market. You can see at the beginning of the year we had that bump up where it looked like we were going to actually follow the rest of the markets and have a little bit higher trends, and it dove back down.
Now the reason that it had that big bump, though, Patrick, was because of the tax credit. So we had that great tax credit extension through, May? And you can see that right after that it started to head on down, and we actually experienced quite a bit of kind of a hangover after that.
Yeah, exactly. It really created a big artificial market at the beginning of the year, and then it sloped way down. So the next thing we're going to look at is prices, though. So prices, opposite of sales, have stayed up. Austin is slow and steady, like Texas, exactly opposite of the rest of these other markets that shot way up in value. We have always had steady growth. In the past 4 years, we've only had one negative appreciation year, which was 2008. You can see a slight little dip there, but it was only 1% drop. The rest of the time, we've had a slow and steady increase in the value of homes in Austin. So lastly, here we have days on market. You can see 87 days on market is the average for the entire year. As opposed to some of the other years, it's a little bit more. Worst year at the very bottom there, 98, almost 100 days on market as an average. Big difference that we want you to know about is active days and cumulative days in the market. Laura, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, active days on the market are the number of days that the property has been listed with the agent that currently has it listed. The property may have come on and gone off the market several times before it sold, and those are the cumulative days on market. So the thing to pay attention to is not just the active days on market, which is pretty easy to find, but to also look at the cumulative days on the market, and that's what we do when we're looking doing our research to make an offer.
Yeah, we're going to definitely get into more about that later on. So we're going to bring all these numbers together and see how they work together, and we've broken down the market by regions. So this is kind of a broader view of the market. So at the beginning we have number of solds, active listings, and then the months of inventory. This is the important number here. It really shows what our market's doing. So basically months of inventory means if we took all those active listings that are on the market and nothing else new was to come on the market, it would take that number to the right of it that long to sell. So for example, the Central Austin, 377 homes on the market in Central Austin. That is a ton of property. It'll take almost a whole year if no new homes came on the market for all those to sell. So that's a long time. If you look at the bottom, it really gets into the breaking it down into different areas. For the most part, from a regional standpoint, if you're looking at these, we're in a balanced two buyers market. Only the Dripping Springs area at the very bottom is showing that it's an extreme buyer's market.
Okay, so Patrick has these color-coded, and the bright red is 12 plus months of inventory, which is an extreme buyer's market, which means there's going to be high depreciation. And then the pink one is a normal buyer's market, and then the light orange is a balanced market. So you can see with different parts of town, there are different types of markets.
Yeah, we're going to definitely get deep into that here on the next one. We broke it down even further into zip codes. And you can really see where Austin has much bigger divided lines. If you see the very first one, 78701, which is downtown Austin, has almost 18 months of inventory. But then right up north of Austin, right north of downtown is 78705, we have less than 6 months of inventory. That is actually really doing well in that area. So there's a big divide. You can see, I guess, like I said, downtown, then 78733, that's Barton Creek, lots of inventory there. And then below that, 78746, that's Westlake, showing a little over 16 months of inventory. So let's see what we have here next.
So from the chart, it looks like as a buyer you want to stay in the areas and the price ranges that are in the red, that are extreme buyer's market.
Katie, that's where you're going to see the most opportunity to take advantage of the market. But we're going to get into it. Every part of town, there is a way to get in and take advantage of the market trends right now and get a good buy.
Okay, so are you seeing that there's more foreclosures and short sales in the areas in red?
Sometimes and sometimes not. It really just depends on the area.
Okay, and Laura, for those of our clients who don't know the difference between short sales and foreclosures, can you go ahead and explain that for them?
Well, every buyer that comes into our office wants to know about short sales and foreclosures and what the opportunities are that those bring. And there is a difference between a short sale and a foreclosure. A short sale is a situation where the seller owes more on the property than the property is worth, or he owes more than he can get for the property. And that could mean that he has multiple loans on it, or it could just mean that the market value has dropped so that he's short to make up, to pay off his mortgage when that property sells. A foreclosure, on the other hand, is once the bank takes possession of the property and then the sale is handled by an asset manager at the bank. And most of the time, these properties are vacant. They've had a lot of deferred maintenance. They've been abused in many ways. They'll have appliances missing. Obviously, the seller didn't have the money to make the payments and probably didn't have any money to keep things up either. So there's repairs that need to be made to them.
Yeah, so I'll show you real quick where, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead here. Let's go back to benefits of buying a short sale. Laura, can you tell us a little bit about some of the benefits?
Of course. Okay, the benefit to buying a short sale or foreclosure, number one, is that you can buy these properties for much below the market value. A short sale, probably not so much as a foreclosure, because a short sale is a situation where the bank is still trying to preserve its or minimize its loss, and once it's taken it over, then they're just trying to get rid of it, get it off their books. So you can buy these much below the market value, And sometimes you can buy in an area or a neighborhood that you wouldn't normally be able to get into otherwise. So those are the benefits to buying them. The downside is that you're buying them as is, and Patrick and I laugh and we say, well, there's nothing short about a short sale, because these transactions sometimes take 3 to 6 months, maybe longer, and there's no guarantee that the bank is going to go through with the sale even if they've agreed to it. So you don't have a lot of power with them, because you're negotiating with a disinterested party. I mean, they're all about the numbers. They come to work in the morning, they leave at 5 o'clock, and they're making a paycheck. They don't really care whether or not you get the property. Not really a great purchase for a personal residence, because again, if you've got a time frame, you know, that can be a problem. They have a much longer timeline to close.
And if it is a personal residence, you just want to make sure that you're not so in love with it that you wouldn't mind losing it. So it's got to be something that's practical for you, so that you are aware of what may or may not happen in the long run.
Exactly, and you also have to make sure that you have money on hand to make all of the repairs, because on a short sale or a foreclosure, not only do you have to be pre-approved for your financing and show proof of that to the lender with your offer, but many of these properties do not qualify for a loan, for a conventional loan or even a regular FHA loan. So there are some downsides to buying a short sale or a foreclosure.
Well, Patrick, can we go ahead and see the numbers for October for the Austin short sales and foreclosures sold?
Definitely. So as I showed you before, there's about 1,100 homes that sold in Austin altogether. 175 of these were foreclosure sales. 11 of them were short sale situations. So all in, that's 17% of our market. Guys, you can't ignore the short sales and the foreclosures that are happening. They are affecting our market, and they are, for a buyer, you know, helping you in a lot of ways to take advantage of this market. So let's look at how they are in different parts of Austin. So again, we broke it down into regions, and you can see that every region I have up here has at least one foreclosure. At the very top, that central Austin, there's 2, which represents a smaller part of the market. But if you get into, say, Pflugerville near the bottom where it's bright red, you're looking at almost a quarter of the sales are a foreclosure. So that is a big number, and that's something you need to watch. Really pay attention to these things happening in your neighborhood and other neighborhoods, because it does affect the value of these homes.
Patrick, let's show them how a foreclosure can affect the rest of the market in a neighborhood, because even if you're not buying a short sale or a foreclosure, if there are a number of them in the marketplace in that neighborhood, they are going to drive your prices down. And when you go to get a loan and an appraiser comes out, they may even label the neighborhood as a declining neighborhood, and that really does make a difference.
So what you're looking at here is just a basic spreadsheet of homes that have sold in a certain neighborhood. They're all in this Forest Bluff area. At the very top, you're going to see that that one is a bank-owned. Sold for $79,000, about $50, almost $60 a square foot. You can't build that house for $60 a square foot, and it sold in 10 days. So while there are these short sales and foreclosures, people are taking advantage of them and moving on them quickly. So if you compare that down at the bottom to what the average price is, $111, almost $90 a square foot, there's a big difference in what the short sales and foreclosures are doing compared to the rest of the market. And like Laura said, if you can look at some of these others, that they are slowly pulling these all down towards them. So it does have these effects, and as a buyer, that's prime time for taking advantage of the market. And just so you can see that it's not just happening in the lower end, I brought up an example of a higher end property. We're looking at Westlake here, guys. I have 2 highlighted. The first one's the house on Alston, 7,000 square foot house, $1 million, sold in just over 30 days. Guys, go to the top, $1.5 million for a comparable house that sold in 160 days. Now, it doesn't show what the original sales price was, but I guarantee it's not what they were asking at the 1.6. So exists. It's everywhere in our market, every part of Austin, and great opportunity for you to buy some property.
Okay, so Patrick, whether you're buying a short sale or a foreclosure or really any other house in the market, a good lender is going to be critically important to the buying process. Can you kind of go over the updated list of the financing process?
Absolutely, Katie. You're absolutely right about the lender being prime and key to this. Big thing that we need to be talking about here is that you need to be prepared to buy these homes. As you can see, some of these short sales and foreclosures flew off the market, and there's a way to be prepared to take advantage of the market, and there's a way not to. So Laura, can you tell us a little bit about the difference between being pre-qualified and pre-approved for a loan?
Yes, pre-qualified is when you've had a conversation with a lender and based on what you've told them over the phone or in a quick interview, that lender has told you that you are qualified to purchase a home of a certain price with your income and your debts. A pre-approval is much different because you've actually submitted your data to the lender in writing, and he has issued a signed letter that says that your credit and all of your verifications have been verified and that they are making a commitment to you in writing to lend you money at a certain rate. And of course, the better your credit score, the better your rate is going to be.
I also want to let you know that short sales and foreclosures will not look at your offer. They will not even look at it unless you have that pre-approval letter sitting right on top of the offer. So it's really crucial in those situations.
And it also helps you with the negotiation. I mean, if on one of our listings, if we have an agent that brings us an offer and they don't bring us a pre-approval letter, we will not look at it with nearly as much credibility as someone that comes prepared showing that their buyer has been pre-approved, because guys, lenders right now, getting a loan can be tough, and we want to make sure we know who the lender is, that they're a reputable lender, that they're not just going to do a bait and switch on you like some of these fly-by-night internet companies that set up shop and then they can't deliver on their promises. So it is important in the negotiation on an offer to have that letter that says that you're pre-approved.
Guys, I want to show you a little bit about some of the great financing that's available right now. The two main loans that you can take advantage of the market are the FHA and conventional. So just to break those down real quick, FHA right now is 3.5% down. I know there's a lot of people looking to get in this market and they don't quite have that ability. You can get that 3.5% down gifted from a family member. It has to be somebody directly related to you, be it your parents or brother or sister, that kind of thing, but you can't have it gifted. The other part of this is great is the seller can pay up to 6% of your closing costs. That is a large chunk of change to help you get into this property. And then max purchase price on that FHA loan is $288,500. So, Laura?
One of the things I'd like to comment on here is that if you have a young adult that is in your family, what a great way to help them get started. I mean, the interest rates are so low right now. When Brad and I bought our first house, the interest rate was 17.5%. We bought a $70,000 duplex, and the payment was really hardly affordable. This is such a great opportunity and time to help a young person get started. And many times they can pay less in the payment than they're paying for rent now, because rents are high in Austin. I don't know if you've looked at the rental market lately, but it's as challenging, if not more so, than the purchase market.
And just to go real quick over these conventional numbers, 5 to 20% down payment typically. Gifting amounts, you can gift on that as well. It varies depending on how much you're putting down. There's also some seller contribution. It also varies depending on how much you put down. The one thing the conventional has over FHA is that you can buy a little bit more home, up to about $417,000. But with average home prices in Austin, I think I said $266 right now. $288 is plenty of money to get into this market and buy a great home.
And jumbo financing is finally back. The rate's a little bit higher, and it does take a high credit score and good credit but you can at least get a loan, so that's exciting too.
Just to look at the history of rates right now, from back to 2000, where rates were up over 7, almost to 9. And this chart's a little out of date because you can actually get loans for under 4% right now. I had a lender quote a client 3.875 on a 350 loan with 20% down. 3.875% interest rate, which is incredibly low.
That is amazing. Okay, well, in addition to finding a trustworthy lender and getting pre-approved, not pre-qualified, what other things do you feel are crucial before a buyer goes ahead and makes an offer on a house?
That's a great question, Katie, because there are a lot of things that are super important to do your homework on before you make an offer or purchase a house. And the first thing that we always look at, there are a list of 10 things, but we're going to talk about 5 right now, is the history of the property. Now, property history includes the active days on the market. It includes the cumulative days on the market. And remember, we talked about the difference just a minute ago. The active days are the days on market with the current listing agent. Cumulative days would include other times that the house has been on the market since it has sold. We also want to look at how long it was on the market, whether it was withdrawn, what the price reductions were, how many price reductions the property has had, etc. The second thing we want to look at is the seller motivation. And this is really key because there are sellers that have to sell and there are sellers that just want to sell. Now remember, we talked about a little earlier the fact that the inventory was way up, especially in the summertime, just after the tax credit expired, and all of those people that just wanted to sell but didn't have to sell took their houses off the market at the end of August, right around the time that school started. And so those sellers just weren't motivated. But others had a job change or maybe a job loss, or perhaps they had a death in the family or some life situation where they're really motivated to sell. And that's an opportunity for a buyer, and it's an opportunity only if the buyer knows what the seller's motivation is. So that's always a question that I'm trying to get to the bottom of when I make an offer on a property with a buyer. Another would be the amount owed on the property. Many times a seller owes more than just a first lien. They might also have a HELOC, which is a second loan or a home equity line of credit. And we want to know that. We also want to know whether or not there's a tax lien on the property. Brad and I actually bought our second or third home, and it had a huge tax lien on it. And had I not dug a little and found that out, we would have been on a world of hurt come time to close. So that it does matter how much is owed on the property. It can mean whether or not a seller is going to have to bring money to the closing table. So if I can show the buyer, look, here's what the seller owes on the property, it looks like they're either going to have to bring X amount to the closing or it's going to become a short sale. Are you game for that? Well, we may make an offer and let the seller know that we're not up for a short sale, so if they don't have the money to close it, then we're going to have to move on to another property. So the amount owed on the property is very important. Then the 4 would be the seller disclosure and past inspections. Now the seller disclosure is required by law in the state of Texas. The seller must make a disclosure as to the condition of the property and what conveys. However, there are certain circumstances when the seller doesn't have to do that, and that would be in the case of an institutional sale, say a foreclosure, for example, or if the property is in a trust or
Estate situation.
An estate situation, exactly. So you always want to look at the seller disclosure because you're going to get a lot of great information from that document. It should tell you if there are any defects with the property. And again, the seller is supposed to include past inspections also with that, so you can see if there was something that was wrong with the property and it was disclosed. You want to see how it was repaired and that type thing. If there are any major repairs, you may decide to move on to a different property, or you may decide to negotiate that price down so that you can make your own repairs. So that's pretty important. Number 5 is title work and tax records. The title work is something that most agents don't pull. We pull it on whenever we list a property. We always pull the title work on it right from the beginning, because I want to know from the day that we list a property what liens are against the property, and the title work will show all liens, including IRS liens, first and second liens, lines of credit. By the way, if you're a buyer and you have gone to your bank and taken a line of credit, even if you have not borrowed 1 cent, you are fully liable on the debt of that line of credit. So that's something good to know. And it will show up in title work when you're a seller. So that comes out on Schedule C. On Schedule B of the title commitment, you're going to see the property boundaries and any recorded easements regarding the property. So if there is a road easement that goes through, or a utility easement, or maybe there's a conservation easement and you can't build a swimming pool in the backyard of that house, it's good to know that right from the start. Now I'll look at the tax record for several reasons. One, it has the amount of taxes that the seller is paying that year and the 3 previous years. It also lists the exemptions, and it lists the taxing entities that are taxing the property, because if you remember, the city has a tax, the county has a tax, the homeowners association could have their fee, emergency service district, municipal utility districts could have a tax. There are a myriad of taxes that could make up the entire tax rate, and those are on the tax record for that property. So we always pull that up. We want to see if the county thinks the property is appreciating or depreciating, and so that's a factor too.
That's a great tip.
And it's also good to know because it'll show the dates of deed on the property for the past 3 or 4 sellers. And it'll show you what the loan amounts were on loans that were taken and who the lender was. So that's good, because I can tell by looking at a tax record if one spouse has deeded the property to another, then I know it's a divorce. There's just a lot of good information that you can get from those. So always look at the tax records.
Well, there's one thing I like about it too is in some cases you can actually see as far back as who built the house. Sometimes the seller doesn't even know who built it, the realtor doesn't know who built it, and as you know, like realtors, all builders are not created equal. So sometimes when a house might look great, you might see that the builder is not that quality builder. That makes it easy to see that you don't want to buy that property and not have to go through the myriad of inspections and everything.
One thing I might add to this though is it's just one piece of information. The square footage is also listed, but often the square footage is inaccurate on the tax record. Not everybody is honest about adding a room, etc. And so sometimes the square footage can fall short, or sometimes the builder will turn in a plan and that's the plan, the tax or the footage on the plan is what gets recorded in the tax record. So you want to look at a lot of different resources to corroborate the information that you're getting.
Yeah, definitely if it shows one thing in one location and a different thing in a different location, that'll really start getting those questions going.
One more I'm going to add just because I thought of it today and I thought, boy, it's really important. I wish I had put it on the slide. And that is, if the property is in a homeowners association, you really do want to see the homeowners association documents before you make an offer on a property, because some of these homeowner associations have some pretty strict rules, and some of them won't even allow you to lease the property subsequent to your purchase of it. So you want to know that in case you ever want to lease the property. When we take a listing, we always post the homeowners association rules and everything online so that buyers can see what those are. It's just another piece of information that's really, really helpful.
Well, that's also extremely important in short sale and foreclosure situations. Guys, if they're not making their house payments, they're definitely not paying their homeowner's dues. So that's something that you have to know when you're going in and buying a short sale or foreclosure. If there's a homeowners association in place, you have to contact them right away and see what they owe on that, because you know the bank isn't going to come to the table and pay those dues. The next purchaser will have to take care of them.
And actually, a homeowners association can actually foreclose on the property before a first lien holder, which is pretty unusual, but it can happen. So those are all great things to know. We're going to actually give you a gift at the end of our seminar today, our webinar, and it's going to have the other things that you definitely need to know before making an offer on a home. So Katie will be telling you about that in a minute.
Okay, y'all, thank you so much for staying on this webinar. You're going to get the ebook, like Laura said, 10 things every buyer should see before making an offer on a home. We would also like for you to receive our monthly market report. There are two ways to go about that. You can either sign up on our blog at westaustinmarketplace.com so you can get them automatically when they're posted, or you can download a PDF of the report straight from the blog.
And Katie, just so you can see on the blog, you see that great wrapper around it. You'll see that there's the place at the top. That's where you can sign up to receive that market report. Or right below it where it says market reports, you can click on that and download all our past market reports. So that's westaustinmarketplace.com.
Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and answer some of y'all's questions. We have one from Rita. She says on Realtor.com they have a category of pre-foreclosure. Is that a standard term, and do you know the meaning of it?
Yes, it is. It's actually a category that we have on our MLS so that we can tell each other which listings are short sales. So a pre-foreclosure just means that it's going to be a short sale and that the process has been started for the bank to foreclose on the property. It's very typical for a listing agent to put that listing into the MLS and put it at a price that either the lender has already said that they would accept as a short sale, or at a price that is attractive enough that the seller could take an offer to the bank and ask the bank to accept the amount of the contract as a short sale. So
that's a great question, Rita. Thanks.
Sure do appreciate that.
Okay, perfect. Here's another question from Bryce. With the 175K to 200K price range being a seller's market, is that a good price point to buy investment property to rent?
The big thing on investment property is you really want to know that you're going to get some return on your money. You're going to need to cash flow the property. So from 175 to 200, a good rule of thumb when you're looking at investment property is you want to make sure that rent is about 1% of sold price. So at $200,000, you need rent to be at least $2,000 a month on that property for it to have good cash flow and to receive a good cap rate. So it can be as long as there's good rent coming in that area. So you want to do your homework on not only what the homes are selling for and those things, but you need to do your homework on lease rates in the area as well. Thanks, Bryce.
Perfect. Okay, here's another one. From Rita. If homes are not selling, why are the prices remaining high?
That's a great question, and part of that has to do with the motivation of the seller. Sometimes sellers just aren't motivated, and they will sit with their homes on the market even a year before taking them off. Others just are really not informed. There are 8,800 real estate agents in the Austin Board of Realtors, down from 11,000. And some of these agents have not done the research and informed their owners of what the market really is. I love technology because technology now allows buyers to really dig down deep and find the answers to questions that years ago they never could get the information. So buyers are much more informed now, and there are fewer of them. So if a seller sits on the market and doesn't lower their price, they're not going to sell. And again, as time goes by, you know, we didn't go way up fast, and we're not going to come way down fast. I expect our market to be pretty steady, and there are going to be soft spots in it, but there are also going to be strong spots. And you may just be looking at an area where prices have not softened like in some other areas.
Well, it'll also go to the fact that even though sales shot up through 2006 through 2010, or I'm sorry, from 2003 to 2006, and then shot back down from 2006 to 2010, doesn't mean the prices are going to follow that same trend. You know, when people have money in their home, there's investment there. You know, the emotional side of buying a home, there is a lot of money tied up, and overnight home values don't just start shooting right back down. So in the long term, you'll continue to see prices to go down, but for right now, they're still going up. And just so you know, I like the question now because if you go to westaustinmarketplace.com, I have a 5-minute blog I just posted today answering that very question in an extensive fashion. So lots of slides there, great information if you want a full explanation of why prices are still on the rise.
One of the core values in our company is to bring great information to our clients, and through West Austin Marketplace, we really hope to do that. We're posting blogs about statistics in the marketplace. We're posting them about technical questions about, you know, the contracts, about the closing process, about the title process, about the survey, and we're posting about neighborhoods. We'd also love your input. What do you want us to bring to you? That's a great thing. So drop us a line and let us know. We really are interested.
And keeping in on investment property as well, which is great that we're getting these questions. We actually all just got certified as investor agent specialists. So here's another question from Lily. What are the best places in Austin to buy investment property?
Lily, that's a great question. We have really narrowed it down and tried to get down into what areas are. Now, most of the time, investing is on a case-by-case basis. Is the house selling, you know, for a price that will yield a good lease rate and cash flow? Overall, though, right now we're seeing a lot of great cash flowing property in East Austin and in Southeast Austin. So if you want more information about that, we'd be happy to send you some information about good investment properties. You can email us at homes@westaustin.com.
We actually do pull lists of homes that meet the different criteria for our different investors, because some have X amount to invest, others have, you know, they just have different amounts. So, and different goals. Some of them are short-term investors, and some of them want to rehab properties and then put them back on the market. So it kind of depends on what your investment goals are and how much you have to invest and what your toleration is, because we want you as an investor to get cash flow and not count on appreciation. We want to make sure that whatever you buy cash flows. That's the most important criteria.
Yeah, that's such a great point. There is an investment property for every type of investor, and that's something that we discuss when we sit down in a buyer consultation.
Thank you all so much for these questions. If you have any other ones, just feel free to chat them in the box. We still have a few more minutes to answer questions. We're happy to answer them. And if not, we just want to remind you that you're going to receive the ebook by email. So look for that in your inbox as our special gift to you for attending tonight. And you've also been entered into our iPad giveaway. Who doesn't want an iPad? We also have our buyer stimulus package. So if you don't win the giveaway and you contract to purchase a home through any of our agents from now until the end of the year, you will receive an Apple iPad at closing as our gift to you. You don't have to close by the end of the year, but you do have to contract to purchase. So get a hand on that iPad. I need one.
It's kind of our own buyer stimulus package. So
thank you again for joining us. And again, if you have questions, we'll stay on for a few more minutes and get those answered for you. Thank you all so much. This has been a great hit.